In this presentation, I'm going to show how to create a template for a dust jacket. A dust jacket is a paper wraparound that goes over a hardcover book to protect the book, but also to apply a design to make it more presentable and more sellable, to make it more exciting. So here in this image, which I've gotten off of the internet, it demonstrates nicely what a dust jacket looks like and what a dust jacket does. So let's get out of this. And the first thing I'm going to do is go to InDesign, and I'm going to create a template for a dust jacket for a trade book. A trade book is a certain size. It's a little smaller than your typical novel, certainly smaller than a textbook. It is 5.5 inches wide by 8.5 inches deep. But we have to also take into account that you have a back cover, inside flaps for the front and the back, and a spine. So if the two flaps are 2.5 inches, the front cover and the back cover are 5.5 inches each, and the spine is 3/4 of an inch wide, then the dust jacket will be 16 3/4 inches wide. So let's create a new template here. And what I'm going to do firstly is change it from picas to inches. And all of that information, all those numbers that I just gave you, the 2.5 inches twice, 5.5 inches twice, 3/4 of an inch once, that equals up to 16 3/4 inches wide by 8.5 inches deep. Now by default, we have a height of 8.5 inches, so that's already in there. And I'm going to put in the number 16.75, that's the decimal for 16 3/4, and I'm going to create a new file. And there it is. Let's bring it down a little bit so we can see what it looks like. And now what I need to do is to save as, and I'm going to save this on my desktop as book jacket -01, and I'm going to save it on my desktop. Now, the front cover and back cover, as I said, is 5.5 inches wide by 8.5 inches deep. The inside flap and front and the inside flap back are both 2.5 inches wide, and the spine is 3/4 wide. What I'm going to do to start this with, though, let's get it into the frame, and I'm going to go to my rectangle frame tool and create a spine. The spine is 3/4 of an inch wide, or 0.75, and the default is already built in, 8.5 inches deep, and I'm going to hit OK. And let's put that right there, and we can find the middle by finding that pink vertical line, and of course the pink horizontal line shows the horizontal middle. So there we have it. That is the spine of our dust jacket. So I'm going to pull from the ruler on the side. I'm going to bring a green guide. It snaps into place. I'm going to bring another green guide for the right side, and that snaps into place. So there you now have the area which is going to be the spine of the dust jacket. Now what I'm going to do is create a flap. Let's go back to the rectangle frame tool, click once, and that is now going to be 2.5 or 2.5 inches deep by 2.5 inches wide by 8.5 inches deep. Let's hit OK, and there we have another box, and that will be a flap. We'll snap it into the side. Let's hit the Option button. You get the double arrows. We'll drag this over here, snap it into position, and now we have the placement for the inside flap front and the inside flap back. So let's drag another guideline over here, And let's drag another guideline right there. And we will click off, delete that. And now we have here one of the flaps, the inside flap back cover. Here it's the inside flap front cover and the spine. That then leaves the front cover in this area and the back cover in that area. Let's double check our work. We'll go back to the rectangle frame tool. We'll click once, and the front cover should be 5.5 inches wide by 8.5 inches deep. Let's hit OK, and there is our size. There is the size of our front cover, and that fits in that area perfectly. Let's check the back cover. That will go there, and it fits perfectly. So here you have it. Let me just type this in so that you can see exactly what this is. This is the inside flap back cover. So that's where that is. Let's bring this over here. This is the inside flap front cover. And then over here, we have the spine. And then this area here is the front cover. And this area here is the back cover. So there are our 5 elements. The inside flap back cover is 2.5 inches wide. The inside flap front cover is 2.5 inches wide. The front cover is 5.5 inches wide. The back cover is 5.5 inches wide. And the spine is 3/4 of an inch wide. These are the dimensions that we are working with. Now, let's just take these and we'll push them up there just as a point of reference so that we always know what it is. And I'm going to hit Command S to save. Now, let's get our guides figured out a little bit more cleanly. Here we have the inside flap back cover. And the inside flap back cover is usually about the author. So I'm going to add text to this, but I don't want to have text going from edge to edge, or should I say from trim to fold. So I'm going to bring in a guide here to be 1/4 inch away from the trim, and I'm going to bring a guide to be 1/4 of an inch away from the fold. Then I think I'm going to keep the 1/2 inch guide at the top and the bottom. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a text box and have it go from the 3/4, from the 1/4 on each side and the 1/2 inch on the top and bottom, like so. Then I'm going to go to my type tool, put that in there. You can see the cursor is clicking. I'm going to right click and I'm going to put in fill with placeholder text, like so. This is where we're going to be playing with our typographic color, but what's going on here, the inside flap back cover traditionally is about the author. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight this. I'm going to make it a little smaller. Let's make it 9 point on, let's say, 12 leading, like so. I'm going to bring this down to the bottom here, like so. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new text box up here, and I'm going to put in about the author. So with this, we are on our way. that is going to be bold, and I'm going to make that a little bit bigger. So there is about the author. Now what I can do also is click on both of these, hit the Option button, and drag this over to the other side here. All right, now I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's put in our guides here so they are 1/4 of an inch away from the trim and 1/4 of an inch away from the fold. Now the inside flap front cover is usually about the book. So we'll just type that in there. Let's see what it looks like. Shift Option Command Y to get rid of the guides, and Command colon to see it more cleanly, and this is what it should look like right now. So let's bring it back to where we were. Oops. Now we have the spine in the center. So what I'm going to do is, just because it's easy, I'm going to take about the author, and here I'm going to go up to the rotate 90 degrees clockwise, and I'm going to put this in the center here in the spine area. So let's drag this down. Let's get it so it's perfectly in there. And this is now name of the book. So I think I'm going to capitalize it just to make it stand out. I'm going to hit Command B, which will bring us to the text frame options, and I am going to do the vertical justification at centered, so it is centered in the area. Name of the book, and then I'm going to do 2 spaces, and I'm going to write author, writer. All right, so we're on the way here. Now, on the front of the area here, the front cover, I'm going to create a new type. I'm going to create a new text box. So this is now going to be all the way from the top to the bottom, and I'm going to choose a book, and it will be, let's say, For Whom the Bell Tolls, and that is an Ernest Hemingway book. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to highlight this, and I'm going to make it larger, like so, and I'm going to center it. And let's just make it completely centered, like so. Now, just like the 2 flaps, I don't want my type to go right into the folds. So I'm going to create another guide here, but I don't think I'm going to be as close to the spine. I think I want to make that about a 1/2 inch away. So I'm going to create another guide, and I'm going to make that about a 1/2 inch away from the fold. So there is For Whom the Bell Tolls. I'm going to tighten up the leading here, and then I am going to bring the text box up, and I'm going to create an entirely different text box, and it's going to be the name of the author, not Ernest, but Ernest Hemingway. Let's make that a little smaller, like so. We'll tighten up the leading and tighten up the text box. Make it go to the 1/2 inch guides, like so. And we will bring this down so it is right on the 1/2 inch guide. On this, we will also bring this to the guides, add a little safety here, and now I think I can make this a little larger. Let's let it out, and I think I'm going to choose a new font. Let's go to Helvetica Black Condensed. We'll give it a little extra impact here. Okay. So now let's see what this looks like. Let's get rid of the guides, and you can see we have the inside flap back cover all filled out. The back cover is still needing work, the spine needs work, and the inside flap front cover needs work. So here you have, let's go back, bring the guides back, about the book. What I'm going to do is, I'm just going to take this fantastic design that I created, I'm going to duplicate it, make it smaller, and drag it right over here. So now, not only do we have the title of the book, which has continuity with the front of the book, the flap and the cover now have continuity, but now you have the title there so you know what you're reading about. Now here, about the author, I think I want to have that in the same font, so I'm going to go to Helvetica Neue Black Condensed again, and I think I'm going to center that. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to create another rectangle box, and I'm going to drag into place a photo of the author. All right, so there it is. I think I need to have this a little bit higher. Maybe I do want this flush left after all. No, I think I prefer it centered. I'm going to make it even bigger, like so. And then what I'm going to do is just design it a little bit, make it a little bit more interesting. Yeah, I think I'll leave it for now. Now, the back cover usually contains blurbs. And let's move this, let's duplicate some type that we can use. And once again, I'm going to create a 1/2 inch guide away from the fold of the flap and a 1/2 inch away from the spine. And what I'm going to do now is take this about the author, and I'm going to change it, and I'm going to put here reviews. And this is where we are going to be creating blurbs, which is basically all the wonderful things that have been said about this book. So what we do is, I'm going to just type something in here just randomly. One of the best books of the 20th century. And that would come from Time magazine. All right, but now what I want to do, let's play with the hierarchy. Let's bring that down a little bit. Let's make that a little bit less. We'll make that into just plain old medium condensed. And we'll give it some quote marks. And of course, then what I'm going to do is just keep repeating it like so. And then I would add all the blurbs. One from Time magazine, one from Google Reads, one from The Atlantic, etc., etc. So here we now have our book cover, this dust jacket. This is what I would call a very, very generic dust jacket. I threw it together in the 15 minutes of this video, but this is basically how you would create the template. Actually, let's take this to the one last spot where we need to get this template figured out, and I will put that there. Let's go back to our guides and blow this up. And it's not name of the book, but For Whom the Bell Tolls. And that is by Ernest Hemingway. And look how nicely that fits, but of course I don't want that to be having the same emphasis as the title. So just like the front cover, I am going to bring this down a little bit to medium condensed. And here we have a generic book jacket or dust jacket design. From here, we can go anywhere with color, with fonts, with styling, with classifications, with emphasis. So keep on going with this. This is just a start.